The sound of tearing paper echoed through the bright bank lobby, and in a single heartbeat, every conversation stopped. A tired single father stood frozen as tiny pieces of a $5 million check drifted to the polished floor like falling leaves. His hands trembled, not because of the money, but because that check represented the final promise he had made to someone he loved more than life itself. The bank manager looked at him with cold confidence, believing she had just exposed another fraud. She had no idea that within minutes, the president of the bank would walk through the front doors, recognize the broken-hearted father instantly, and say his name with respect that would change everyone's lives forever. Before we continue this unforgettable story, please take a second to like, comment, share, and subscribe to HeartofResham if you believe in second chances. Your support helps more inspiring stories reach people who need hope today. Morning sunlight poured through the tall glass windows of Oak Ridge National Bank, filling the lobby with bright natural light that reflected across the marble floor. Customers waited patiently while employees greeted them with practiced smiles. Among the neatly dressed visitors stood 38-year-old Nathan Mercer, a hardworking single father whose worn shoes quietly revealed years of sacrifice. His clean blue shirt had been carefully ironed the night before, and although his appearance was simple, he carried himself with quiet dignity. Clutched carefully inside a weathered envelope was the check that had the power to completely change his daughter's future. Nathan had not always lived with constant worry. Years earlier he had owned a successful custom furniture workshop where handcrafted pieces were admired throughout the state. His wife, Amelia, handled customers while he built every table and chair with remarkable skill. Their little daughter, Lily, grew up laughing among piles of polished wood and fresh sawdust. Life seemed perfect until Amelia was diagnosed with an aggressive illness. Every treatment emptied their savings, every hospital visit forced Nathan to sell another piece of the business, and after Amelia passed away, the workshop closed forever. Nathan refused to surrender. During the day he delivered packages across the city, and during evenings he repaired broken furniture inside a tiny rented garage. Every dollar went toward raising Lily, now 10 years old, whose dream was becoming an architect just like the buildings she sketched in worn notebooks every afternoon. Nathan constantly reminded her that dreams survived only when people refused to quit. Months earlier an elderly businessman named Walter Hayes had discovered Nathan's remarkable craftsmanship while searching for someone capable of restoring antique furniture that belonged to his late wife. Nathan worked carefully for weeks, refusing shortcuts and treating every piece with extraordinary respect. Walter noticed not only Nathan's skill but also his honesty. After learning about Nathan's struggles, Walter quietly decided to invest in him. Instead of simply paying for the restoration, Walter purchased Nathan's original furniture designs that had never reached the market because tragedy had interrupted his business. Those designs would become the foundation of an upcoming luxury furniture collection. Walter insisted Nathan deserved full ownership compensation, and after legal paperwork was completed, Nathan received a legitimate check worth $5 million. Nathan barely slept the night before visiting the bank. He imagined reopening his workshop, creating scholarships for trade students, buying a modest home for Lily, and donating to the hospital that had cared for Amelia during her final months. Money had never been his dream. Security, dignity, and opportunity were. Inside the bank, he patiently waited until bank manager Vanessa Cole called him forward. Vanessa had built a reputation for being strict and suspicious. She believed appearance revealed character and often judged people before hearing their stories. The moment Nathan placed the large check on the counter, she looked at his worn envelope, inexpensive clothing, and rough hands. Without asking meaningful questions, she assumed the check had been stolen or forged. She examined it briefly, frowned dramatically, and announced loudly enough for nearby customers to hear that the document appeared fraudulent. Heads turned across the lobby. Nathan calmly explained where the payment came from and even offered identification along with legal documents stored inside his folder. Vanessa ignored them. Convinced she was protecting the bank from fraud, she grabbed the check and, before anyone could react, tore it cleanly into several pieces. Silence covered the lobby. Nathan stared at the shredded paper scattered across the counter. His breathing became uneven. It wasn't simply money lying there in pieces. It represented years of heartbreak, endless sacrifice, and the first hopeful chapter after unimaginable loss. Employees looked shocked. Even customers seemed uncomfortable. Nathan never raised his voice. Instead, tears quietly formed in his eyes as he whispered that the check had been the only original issued before the investor traveled overseas. Vanessa folded her arms confidently, convinced she had done the right thing. Only seconds later, the main entrance opened. A distinguished man in a charcoal suit entered with several executives following behind him. Employees instantly stood straighter. It was Richard Ellison, president of Oak Ridge National Bank, making an unannounced inspection of regional branches. As Richard walked through the lobby, his attention immediately focused on Nathan. His serious expression suddenly softened. Without hesitation he stepped forward and said warmly, "Nathan Mercer." The entire lobby became motionless. Richard crossed the room and shook Nathan's hand with genuine respect. Years earlier, before becoming bank president, Richard had nearly lost everything after a devastating business failure. During that difficult period, a young carpenter named Nathan had accepted a tiny remodeling project at Richard's first office. Nathan discovered an accounting mistake that would have cost Richard his remaining savings. Instead of staying silent, he returned every misplaced document and refused the reward Richard offered. Richard never forgot that extraordinary honesty. Looking around, Richard quietly asked what had happened. Employees nervously explained. When Richard noticed the torn check pieces, his expression changed completely. Vanessa confidently explained that she suspected fraud because no ordinary-looking customer could possibly possess a legitimate $5 million check. Richard requested verification immediately. Within minutes the accounting department confirmed everything Nathan had said was true. The payment had already been registered through legal corporate channels, and electronic records perfectly matched the destroyed document. Vanessa's confidence disappeared. Richard calmly explained to every employee gathered in the lobby that banking depended on trust, professionalism, and respect, not assumptions based on appearance. He reminded them that financial institutions existed to serve people from every background with equal dignity. Nathan remained remarkably calm. He told Richard that he wasn't interested in humiliating anyone. He simply wanted the opportunity to deposit the payment and return home to his daughter. Richard personally contacted Walter Hayes, who confirmed every detail and immediately authorized an emergency replacement check through secure electronic certification. Within hours, Nathan's funds were safely deposited without further delay. The story could have ended there. But kindness has a remarkable way of continuing beyond justice. Richard invited Nathan to lunch that afternoon. As they talked, Richard learned that Nathan planned to rebuild his workshop and create apprenticeship opportunities for young adults who had aged out of foster care or struggled to find meaningful careers. Richard admired the vision. Instead of offering charity, he offered partnership. The bank introduced Nathan to community development programs designed to support local manufacturing businesses. Additional investors joined after hearing his story, impressed not by the money he received but by the integrity that had earned it. Within 18 months, Mercer Woodworks reopened inside a renovated factory filled with sunlight, modern equipment, and eager apprentices learning valuable skills. Nathan insisted every employee receive fair wages, health benefits, and opportunities for advancement. Many of the young workers had experienced hardships similar to his own. Some had grown up without parents. Others had survived homelessness. Several had been told repeatedly that they would never succeed. Nathan saw potential where others saw limitations. Lily often visited after school, walking proudly through the workshop while watching beautiful furniture take shape piece by piece. She eventually designed her first collection of sustainable furniture as part of a school architecture competition, winning first place. Nathan smiled because the little girl who once feared losing everything had finally begun dreaming without fear. Meanwhile, Oak Ridge National Bank quietly introduced new employee training focused on empathy, fairness, and unbiased customer service. Richard believed one painful mistake should become a lesson capable of protecting thousands of future customers. Vanessa accepted responsibility for her actions. After completing extensive retraining and volunteering in financial literacy programs serving struggling families, she gradually understood how dangerous assumptions could become. Real leadership, Richard often reminded his staff, wasn't measured by authority but by humility. Years later, Mercer Woodworks became one of the region's most respected custom furniture companies. Every handcrafted piece carried a small engraved message hidden underneath. Built with integrity. Finished with hope. Customers rarely noticed the inscription immediately. But those who eventually discovered it often smiled, realizing the company valued character as much as craftsmanship. Nathan never forgot the morning sunlight shining across that bank lobby when everything seemed lost. He also never forgot the moment someone remembered his name, not because he was wealthy, but because years earlier he had chosen honesty when nobody was watching. Sometimes the greatest investment anyone can make isn't money. It's character. Because character quietly waits for the day life decides to return every act of kindness with unexpected interest. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope today, leave a meaningful comment, and subscribe to HeartofResham. Your support helps inspiring true-to-life stories reach people searching for encouragement. Special request: before this story ends, please comment, "Character always wins," if you believe kindness and integrity are never wasted. As Nathan locked his workshop one peaceful afternoon, bright daylight filled the streets while Lily laughed beside him, carrying blueprints for her next dream. He looked toward the clear sky, grateful not for the millions that had changed his life, but for the values that had survived every hardship. Money had opened new doors, but integrity had opened every important one first. And somewhere in the busy world, another struggling parent was about to discover that hope sometimes arrives disguised as the hardest day of your life, and that one act of honesty can echo across years until it returns when you need it most.